To continue the exercise that we started in the last video, we're gonna paint this area. So, as first we're going to fill the whole area using the cyan that we have prepared on our palette. And once finished, we're gonna blend it using some Prussian blue. We're also gonna fade the blue inside the cyan, so we're going to start brushing over the border between the two colors in the fading lines direction. Once the fading is complete, we're gonna blend some extra blue to make the corner darker. And we're gonna keep working until we are satisfied. Let's make a consideration now. The three areas that we have painted so far are not in contact except for these 2 points. And this was not a coincidence because, as we have seen, it can be really difficult while we are fading, not overstepping our sketch lines. And if it happened, we should clean our mistakes. But if on the other side of the border we have some fresh paint, our work is going to turn in a kind of mess, and we don't want this. So what we should do now is to let our work there for a few days until the paints get dry and continue it later. We're gonna cover our palette with some plastic wrap and we're gonna wait. Now that our oil colors on the canvas are dry, we can continue our exercise, and we're going to start working in this area blending sun gray with some Naples yellow. We're going to start first painting close to the border using sun gray, and with a rounded brush we're going to work the connection with the other area on the left. As you can see, now when the brush passes over the fading, it's not going to affect the work we did. And we can join the gray with our previous work with the sharp connection without ruining it. To continue, we're going to do the same thing also on the yellow side. Now that the external part of this area is complete, we're going to start filling the rest using the yellow. And then we're going to start fading the two colors following the path of their border. We're going to keep brushing in the fading lines direction until we are happy with our job and the fading is pretty smooth. We can say that also this area is complete, so we can move on. We're going to start working here where we're going to blend some cyan with some Naples yellow. But only this time we're going to fade these two colors following a different path. We're going to start painting the left side with the cyan, and then we fill the rest of the area using the yellow. Also in this case, when we work on the border, we're not going to affect our previous work. And in case by mistake we overstep it, we can always clean it using a rear stick. Let's start fading these two colors now, brushing over their border in the fading lines direction. We can notice almost immediately that in the fading area the cyan turned into a light green, more or less the same color we were expecting to see on our palette when we made the cyan. And this because this yellow is very opaque and its contribution to the final color is much stronger. Now, with a very small quantity of Prussian blue, we are gonna make the external part just a little bit darker. And maybe even a little bit more darker in a corner. I think we can say that also this part is complete, so we can move on the other part of the circle. Here we're gonna blend some crimson red and some zinc and titanium white. They are both opaque, so we shouldn't expect surprises when we blend them. We're gonna use the red right on the border. This time we have to pay more attention on what we're doing because the colors on the other side are still fresh and we don't want to mess them. Once the border is complete, we can start blending the red with some white. We're gonna blend some extra white here. And to complete the area, we're going to mix more or less the same quantity of these two colors to get a dark pink. We're going to fade the whole area trying to make a smooth transition between the dark red and the light pink that we have got here. I think it looks pretty okay. Maybe we want to adjust the corner here on the other side with some blue. And maybe also blend some extra white here to make it lighter. I think we can say that the circle is complete. We're going to start working on this area now. As first, we're going to paint it all in white. And we're going to try to join it with the white at the end of the long fading, trying to make it look like a continued transition. Let's see now if blending the white with some Naples yellow, we can do the same thing here. It doesn't really look good. There's a step between the two colors, and that's because the white it's an opaque pigment, and it makes the yellow lighter. We're going to move now on this area, fading some blue with some white. So we're going to start painting the blue all over the border with the yellow first, and then with the cyan. We're going to prepare a middle step blue, blending some white with the blue that we have here on the canvas. And we're going to fill the rest of the area with the white. Now we're going to work the transition brushing in the fading lines direction. As always, we want to use a brush as clean as possible. So we're going to keep brushing, working our fading until it looks exactly like we want it. To continue, we're going to paint this triangle here uniformly using some crimson red. And then we're going to move on this last area. So as first, we're going to use the cyan to paint it uniformly. And then we're going to work the borders with the other areas. Once everything is fine, we're going to start blending the cyan with some other colors. So for example, we're going to start blending some Naples yellow here, some crimson red right on the corner. We're going to blend some white between them. Also in this case, we have to remember to keep cleaning the brush frequently. We're going to blend some Prussian blue here. And at the end, we're going to complete the area also using some Naples yellow. Now, just a quick rework to the colors we just blended to fade them in a better way. And I think we can say that also this exercise is complete. We have to remember that these are our first experience with this technique, and what we are doing here are just exercises. So we don't have to be perfect. They are just preliminary steps to let us become more familiar with brushes and oil paints. So if you think you are doing well, you can continue. Otherwise, you can redo this exercise one more time to get more confident. Until now, we have seen theory and exercises, but no real painting. And I think it's time we start seeing how all the things that we have seen so far are going to help us making a representative painting. So, we're going to see an example now. My suggestion is watch it, but don't do it right now. This example is useful to give us a practical view of what we have seen now theoretically, but I think there are still a few steps that we have to do before we get to this point. In this exercise, we're going to paint an apple. This is actually a very easy painting once you get the experience. So we are not going to make a preliminary sketch. We're going to get it out from the background while we paint it. In this painting, the light will come from the left. So we're going to paint the left side of the background lighter than the right side. So we're gonna start blending some cyan with some white on the top left corner. We're gonna make a very rough sketch to get an idea on how big should be the apple and where we wanna paint it. Now we're gonna paint some dark gray on the right, and playing with these three colors we're gonna fill the whole background. While we paint the background, we also want to start making a rough shadow behind the apple. Now we're going to use a large rounded brush to start blending the colors, making a sort of fading. And keep brushing and blending, the background is almost complete. Now, before we start working on the apple, we want to clean the area where we're going to paint it. So, using some makeup pads, we're going to remove the large stains inside of it. And then, using some ear sticks soaked with turpentine, we're going to clean the whole area, including the borders. We don't want them to be too soggy, otherwise they may generate drops running on the support, and we definitely don't want this. So, before we use them, we're going to unload some turpentine on a makeup pad. Before we start working on the apple, we just want to make the top left corner lighter, blending some white, and making a transition with the rest of the background, working the fading lines as we did before, brushing in their direction. Now we're going to start painting on the support the basic colors to do the apple. We're going to cover the whole area using some Naples yellow and some red vermilion. As we did before, we're going to work the borders between the apple and the background. To do this job, we're going to use a rounded brush. Also in this case, if we make some mistake, it's not really important, we're gonna fix them later. On the bottom right part of the apple, we're gonna blend some crimson red where it's supposed to be darker. And we start making a rough fading. On the other side, where it's supposed to be lighter, we are gonna blend some white. On the top, the apple is supposed to have an indent hole where the stem gets out. So we're going to use some crimson red to make it, and we're going to use some white to make the top part of the apple lighter. Accidentally, we brought some color in the wrong place. So using a ear stick, we're going to remove the paint there, and we're going to put some white instead. We're going to add some extra crimson red on the bottom part where it's supposed to be darker. And using the tip of the brush, we're going to keep brushing, adjusting and blending it until it looks good. Now, with some crimson red, we're going to make the stem and a light dot in top of it. Once the apple is complete, we are going to rework a little bit the background. We're going to make the top right corner a little bit darker. So we're going to blend there some dark gray, and we're going to fade it with the rest of the background. And at the end, we're going to do the last adjustment all over the painting. Our introduction on how to blend and fade colors using the Mixit meter is complete. In the next video, we're going to see how to make corrections and reworks. If you enjoyed this video, we will really appreciate if you could click on like and subscribe to our channel. It will also help us very much if you could leave a comment. Thank you for watching this video and see you in the next one.